Shock poll shows RFK Jr.'s run as an independent could pull more support from Trump than Biden in 2024. And the poll basically it asks if you have a favorable view of RFK Jr., and they find that Republicans actually have a more favorable view than independents and Democrats. Democrats have a very relatively unfavorable view of RFK Jr. Of course, we're hearing now that he may run as an independent, but I actually want to say right away, I think this is wrong. Republicans have favorable views of Vivek Ramaswamy. They're voting Trump. They have a favorable view of RFK Jr. They are voting Trump. As Phil Labonte said last week, Trump's bottom is rock solid. And I think it could probably be phrased a lot better, but his voter floor is not going to move. 44% of whatever individuals who support Trump ain't going to back anybody else. And I like RFK Jr. I have a favorable view of him. I'm not voting for him. Right?
I agree with that. Yeah.
I think the Daily Mail's view is wrong. I think the poll is interesting for sure, but I think they're wrong. If you look at independents, 36 to 37, it's within the margin of error. The question is how many independent voters who would normally vote Democrat will end up voting RFK Jr. instead, and will that spike Joe Biden? Real quick, Rich Barris came on the show and said, if RFK Jr. runs, it could be a Ross Perot-like moment, and Trump could end up winning states like Maine because it'll split enough of the Democrats, and Trump could end up winning the presidency with like 44% of the popular vote.
Yeah, that's what happened with Lincoln. We talked about that. It was a four-way split. Four parties.
I don't like where this is going.
I don't trust polls, firstly, because they can be used to manipulate public perception. I hate to be the guy that constantly asks, but how many people were polled here? It's just like 1,000 people, and then they extrapolate it.
1,000, I think.
And then they tell you that it stands for 300 million, and it's like, no, it stands for 1,000.
Well, they also didn't ask, would you vote for him? They asked, Tim, what you said, the favorable versus unfavorable. I have a generally favorable view of RFK Jr. I like that he posts workout videos. I sometimes post a workout video. I'm okay with that. I think a lot of Republicans like him because he called out the Democrats for a lot of their crazy nonsense that everybody can see is insane. And he was like, yeah, I don't agree with that. Or, hey, I don't know, maybe you shouldn't be forced to have a vaccine. That's why I think a lot of Republicans have a favorable view. But you're right. The Trump base, I don't believe going anywhere.
But you had people saying Trump RFK Jr. 2024.
I've heard that.
Yeah. And it's okay, well, probably not. But people like the anti-establishment. And I think that shows you, even though RFK Jr. has had anti-2A sentiments in the past, one of the biggest issues in the election in 2016, 2020, now even the midterms is anti-establishment versus establishment. If you're RFK Jr. and you say the machine is broken and I have these political views, people will be like, I care less about your policy positions and more about your opposition to the corruption in Congress and D.C. and the federal government.
There was an article released a couple days ago highlighting how Hillary Clinton was warning Joe Biden in a private meeting that a third-party candidate would, quote, prove disastrous for him as a White House insider calls the situation pretty effing concerning. This is the reporting from the Daily Mail that just happened a couple days ago. So I think, it is interesting to see RFK Jr., to see where he's going to be going. Allegedly, he's going to be announcing on October 9th in Pennsylvania, an independent run. That's the rumors that are circulating right now. I don't know if that's true or not, but there is a very big stark difference between RFK Jr. and Donald Trump, especially when it comes to COVID, their response to COVID, their response to Operation Warp Speed. And we have to understand here, Donald Trump was advised by RFK Jr. and was going to launch an investigation into these medical procedures that people get injected with. And then Donald Trump decided to take the advice of Bill Gates and not listen to RFK Jr. and not do that investigation. Now, a Trump RFK Jr. ticket, I think, would ease a lot of the concerns of a lot of anti-establishment people. What percentage do you think it's possible that there could be a Trump RFK Jr. presidency?
Oh, yeah. I don't want to say super high percentage, to be honest with you. But it's funny because people ask me all the time, well, who's he considering as a running mate? Anybody on the debate stage? And the truth is, he's kept this one pretty close to the vest, I will say. And so I don't know who he's considering, and I don't know if it would be RFK Jr.
But
probably
are there considerations?
I'm sure there are.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I
He's
mean,
considering multiple things at all times.
If you're thinking about a ticket that says "screw you, establishment," I think it is a Trump RFK Jr. ticket.
I can see that.
And I think it would ease a lot of the fears about a new potential COVID virus coming back under his presidency if RFK Jr. was there saying, "Hey, I'm here as vice president. I here will stand up for the people and for people's own individual rights for their bodies to choose what they want to do with them."
I agree, but I just think there's way too much political baggage for that to happen. Or a lot of people have entertained it, but I suppose the bigger issue is I don't know who Trump could pick as a running mate. We've said a lot of people thought it would be DeSantis for a long time, and now that's completely not happening.
No.
Vivek Ramaswamy, but he says he doesn't want to be VP, but he has to say that. But I don't even know if he would be the right pick.
I think
some people are saying Kristi Noem. I have no idea.
It can't be someone close to his views and his kind of overall messaging. It has to be someone polar opposite. There's a reason he picked Mike Pence, the neocon.
Well, there's a reason Biden was chosen for Obama. Why
exactly.
Obama chose Biden?
Because they're
he was an
completely
antithesis.
different from each other. So if Trump has a choice right now between a rhino, between a Mike Pence kind of candidate for his vice presidency, or a Democrat, maybe even a Tulsi Gabbard or an RFK Jr., I think picking a Democrat will help him out more than picking a rhino neoconservative, which clearly, especially what happened today, a lot of people have disdain for.
Yes, and I saw a Twitter poll from, I can't remember who it was, but it was like 10,000 or so votes. And I was surprised to see Tulsi Gabbard got more votes. It's not a scientific poll, I'm just talking about Twitter, than Vivek, than RFK Jr. People thought Tulsi Gabbard would be a good pick.
Yeah, I like
great.
Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah.
She's military, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
She's positioning herself in a very curious way, doing media appearances, speaking tours in a way where she's kind of running, but not running.
I got to be honest. Like, when I think about Noem, I think about RFK Jr., Vivek. I'm kind of like, I don't know. I don't think Tulsi Gabbard has, in my mind, a substantially higher percentage, but it does seem to make more sense. He's going to get a lot of moderate, old school, and post-liberal types who are going to be like, with Gabbard there, I'm willing to support this.
Yeah, there still is a kind of Bernie bro sentiment within the Democratic Party of not liking the establishment. There still is the kind of Jimmy Dores out there, the Russell Brands out there that do, Glenn Greenwald, that do represent kind of a leftist kind of anti-establishment ideology that could galvanize a lot of votes, and I think would be more popular than a neocon.
Joe Rogan said now twice on his show he would vote for Trump over Joe Biden. Joe Biden is not there. He hasn't gone as far as say, I'm going to vote for Trump. He was like, if it was Trump Biden, I'd vote for Trump over Biden. I think if you had a Trump Gabbard ticket, and again, we're just spitting in the wind here. I mean, it's all just silly nonsense. It's probably meaningless in the big picture, but just thinking about it now, I think Joe's friends with Tulsi. I think you had a Trump Gabbard ticket. Joe's going to be like, I'm voting for Trump Tulsi. I'm Trump Gabbard. Tulsi's my friend. I trust her.
Yeah, you need someone.
I think that's big.
Yeah, you need someone that's going to galvanize more people outside of his base that are going to vote for him as the VP ticket. So,
but I don't even want to entertain that, right? Because it's just like it's a silly conversation. I mean, 6 months from now, he's going to pick someone. You're like, oh,
but it could be that you're just offering ideas that eventually get around to Don, and then
That's true.
no, I hope that
There is someone here who knows him.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
I was going to go.
part of
Crazier things have happened.
Tulsi Gabbard is like, that's a good idea.
because the baggage about RFK.
I like your impression.
I think it was like 2 days after he announced he was running it's an anti-vax, really big on a news article about him. And they hadn't said that about RFK before that. And it was right when he announced, I was like, I got to call my mom, get her before the brainwashing hits. Because once people get brainwashed, it's harder to unbrainwash them. So when you know it's coming, you tell your loved ones right away.
Preemptive.
And then when they see it, they're like, oh, he was right. And they're ready.
Well, and that's what the media is trying to do to you. They're like, we've got to poison the well in RFK Jr. before people can talk to their family about it.
Exactly, and there was a coordinated attack against RFK Jr. Now, he's in a very interesting position because he also made some very interesting statements about the border, which a lot of Democrats aren't really making right now. He did flip-flop on the Second Amendment. He has been pretty solid on his bodily autonomy that he's been standing for almost his entire life. So he's positioning himself in a very interesting way where he's not far left and he's not far right, but he is anti-establishment, which Trump is as well.
Here's a question. I mean, we just got a super chat from Ginger McIsaac saying Larry Elder for VP. What do you guys think about that? He did really well in California.
I like Larry Elder.
Yeah.
I think he's a great guy. I don't know enough about him to
He's too
say,
similar to Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
But
you have a lot of alpha energy there on both,
Yeah.
kind of. Yeah.
it's a hard question. I have
It
to
is.
imagine Trump is
Dude,
probably
Strategically, you also want to have someone that if they impeach you, you want to make sure that they're not going to be more favorable than you are. So you also want a horrible person like Mike Pence in there, or
Well,
Kamala Harris. and that's why Vice President, or Joe
That's why-
Biden. And that's why all the vice presidents are horrible. Dick Cheney, look at all the vice presidents. They're horrible human beings. Every last one of them.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.